Hey, look, we're doing a thing. We're doing the thing, Nick.
We're doing a thing.
It's the 37 thing.
It is the 37th inning. That is a lot of tire.
Well, there we go. Do you want to roll it next to the old tire and see what the difference between my 35s and upgrading to 37s? Wow. That's like a full 2 inches going to be.
More than that. It's probably closer to 3 since we've worn down the tread on these. Plus, Mickey Thompson's are true 37s, if I remember correctly.
I think they're a little under. But it's closer than what the KM3s are.
Yeah.
In terms of size and everything. But this is going to be a fun time. So we're only test fitting these today. We haven't got the full set. Today is actually brakes.
Shiny brakes. Shiny brakes.
Shiny! Welcome back to the vlog. We are at the Euro Car Crypt and home of Wayward Mechanics with Mr. Nicholas. The mods continue, but this time it's a little bit of maintenance / mods. We have to replace the brakes on the truck. They are shot. So we are going with new R1 rotors in the back with pads and then a set of Willwood up front. So I'm really excited for that. It's going to be a lot of braking power up front on the truck. We also have 37s. We are going to test fit some 37s because we are making that move with the new fenders. And we have to test fit, make sure everything is aligned appropriately before we commit fully. And then I'm going to paint the rack of the truck as well because we do have some rust spots on it. It is the Pacific Northwest. We have to weatherize that rack, so we're going to lift it, paint it, put it back together again. And then this truck is getting to the point where we're able to take it out to the high desert and do some testing on it with all the new mods. So let's get started. Okay, look at these two comparisons now. There has been about 20,000 miles on these 35s, so they're a little used. And that's the new 37, which are Mickey Thompson Baja Boss mud terrains. But you can see it doesn't sound like a lot when you say 35 to 37, but then when you see it, it's substantial. A lineup of tires here. And Mr. Nicholas is going to do some wisdom dropping for us.
So these are asymmetrical tires, the Mickey Thompsons, which means they have a direction. You'll notice this tread pattern is on the inside, and it's on the inside here. These two tires, the BFGs, are symmetrical. These two are reversed, but the pattern's the same across. So it matches that same arch no matter which direction you point it. Whereas these ones, the patterns don't match. These are designed to act more like a paddle than this, which is what helps them in mud, but why they're directional. One of many reasons. I've still got some life on those. Not as much as I should, but yeah, they're definitely, they're due. So you're starting to see that wear line here and here. So we literally ran them down to the last edges. When I measured them 3 weeks ago, that had 3 mils. So because the one pad started dragging, the rear brakes have gone completely out of the wall. So this is the inside. When I measured these, not even 3 weeks ago, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, right, when Brad went to order all these parts, there was still pad life. So this is one slight uneven wear, nothing too major, but we literally tore them down to the absolute edge of what you should ever. I mean, this is way past when we should have changed these pads.
It's new and shiny, Nicholas.
It is new and shiny. So cleaned up the inside a little bit. The wheel speed sensor is a magnet, and the center bearing has little magnetic pips on it. And it had a bunch of schmoo built up on it, mostly magnetic shavings, etc. So clean that, putting this back together using Loctite on all of my major bolts, using orange for holding the caliper carrier on, and I'll probably use something like purple, which is a lightweight one for the slides themselves.
Nick, tell us about your schmutz.
So, just lubricating the slides themselves, the actual piece that moves back and forth and allows the caliper to slide. This happens to be a cheap acid brush, but a tube of spraying it everywhere.
Yeah.
Red Line CV2 synthetic. It's just a high performance grease. It's the stuff I've been using for years. It's really good stuff. And rather than using it in a grease gun, I've got a brush. And I'm brushing it on. Now clean up the outsides, get rid of all the old schmoo, and there we go. This is how thick a brake disc is supposed to be. On this side, you can see where it hung up. We wore through half of that metal. Let's check out the difference in thickness of pad. This is what we were fighting against. So there you are, guys. Remember, check your brakes regularly. So here's what we've got. We have a complete Willwood front conversion kit. This is their prosumer level. So the caliper, this girthy boy right here. This is 6 pistons, 3 on each side. This is actually a higher stopping power than the Porsche on the rack over there, and that's a 911 Carrera. This also includes brand new Willwood brake pads, Willwood mounting hardware, slide pins, clips. They included a full stainless steel brake line kit. And the difference between this Willwood kit and some of the more expensive ones, as far as I can tell, is this. This is a one-piece rotor. So, gorgeous one-piece rotor, don't get me wrong. This is beautiful. This is Willwood in-house. Absolutely amazing. But when you get into the more expensive kits, you will get a 2-piece where you have a hat and then a disc that bolts to it. It's called a floating disc brake. That's probably the reason that, of all things in the world, you can do Willwood for less than $2,000, which is a screaming deal for any of you who know what these are. These are go fast brakes. These are designed to stop very fast vehicles very quickly. So we were blessed with our buddy Tyson being able to hook us up, and also Willwood for selling a prosumer level rather than a complete race car kit. And this comes with both sides, everything we need to do. So let's have fun and get them installed. We're looking at their stainless steel line kit versus our stainless steel line kit. We already have extended stainless lines on the vehicle. Their setup uses a 90-degree, or uses a flare point and then a 90-degree adapter. Flare point is, it's designed to thread into their caliper, and then it's designed to have a universal output. And then they use a 90 because their lines are just capped that way. Well, we had ours built, and ours have 90 banjo fittings, as they're called, already. So I'm going to see if these bolts will fit. If they will, that's a lot longer than our brake line, or this brake line is a lot longer than the Willwoods, I believe. So we're probably going to stick with the rubber-coated one. I also am a big fan of the rubber-coated. Ours are blue. Theirs are not. Yeah. See what we can do. Let's set it to send it. Yeah. R.I.P. ears. Oh boy. Oh, something to note. This rotor. A lot of people wonder, why isn't it bigger? Because if you put it on top of this rotor, they're the same, they're basically the same size. There's an ever so slight difference. That's because you can't fit anything bigger in there. Look, this thing's on 17-inch rims. This kit is designed for 17-inch rims. You are already pushing the absolute limit of fitment of 17-inch rims and brakes. So what you're gaining, even though the pads here are slightly smaller, and the rotor is ever so slightly smaller, what you're getting is higher compression forces. It is biting harder because it's pushing from both sides, not pushing from one side and kind of dragging from the other. That's why 6-pot works better. You know, with Willwood stuff, the brake rotors actually have a direction, if you can get that to pick up on the camera. There is an arrow telling you which way this rotor is designed to rotate. They have the airflow designed to go in a certain direction to cool this off better. The reason for better cooling, because they're clamping so much harder, your boiling point of your brake fluid needs to be higher. You need a brake fluid that is capable of withstanding that additional heat, because brakes are just friction tools. They just make heat out of rotational energy. So you're converting rotational energy into thermal energy.
So,
I'm super happy about this fitment, but I think it's going to work. It's okay. That's what I was afraid of. Shit.
oh, bummer.
Yeah. So what happened is, turns out, Willwood calipers, or at least the ones they sent us, use a pipe thread. Pipe threads, for those of you who don't know, are a slightly tapered set of threads that get skinnier at the base so that things fit very tightly. Sounds like a great idea, except no one else in the automotive world and nowhere else in the automotive world would you ever dare to use that. Assuming we ordered a kit that was incredibly compatible, I figured rather than making a brake line out of the 6-inch too short one they shipped us, not because they screwed up because our truck's lifted, that I could just use the original banjo bolts. They didn't fit. One broke off. See montage of drill out. Here's what we're going to do. This is the other side caliper. It hasn't been molested badly yet. I'm going to pop one of the pistons out so I can get the ability to clean through my hole, and I'm going to re-tap this so that it uses Ford's factory size. The idea here is that if anything should happen in the Baja, Brad can use factory Ford parts to fix the truck, like brake line and brake line bolts. We're about to find out.
So the lesson here is, if you decide to go with this kit, which I'm sure is a great kit, we're going to put it to the test once it's operational, but because of that threading being unique, if you run the risk of having a very unique and maybe hard to replace fitting if you have a critical failure. Now, if you have the ability to purchase this and then get it professionally machined to the right spec for Ford, that might be the way to go. I happen to have this guy handy to do such work, but I understand that it may not be the type of work that your average run-of-the-mill person in their garage would want to do.
So,
Yeah, that's where we're at.
here's what I've done. This is the port on the backside of the brake caliper where the fitting is supposed to go in. Because these are 6-pot calipers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those are the actual pieces that push brake fluid through. It'll be a little hard to film, but if you see in here, that hole goes all the way through. You can see my finger moving on the other side, changing the light. That's where the fluid comes in, and then they have passages drilled sideways to each other chamber. I popped the piston out so all of the metal shavings can get cleared out of there and they don't gum up the mess, or the works. So I'm now going to lube and re-tap this to fit M10 1.0, which happens to be Ford's factory brake line size for a Gen 2 Raptor. Results may vary. Don't try this at home, kids. I didn't want to try it at the shop. Sure, lube. I'm actually out of tap lube. And yes, tap lube is a thing. So I'm using Marvel Mystery Oil because the stuff is pretty much good for anything. So, very carefully, we're going to start this off. The reason I was able to use the banjo bolt and get it as far in as I did, you'll see with the tap, is it is so very close of a thread pitch that this is going to go in pretty well without any drilling or presetting. Now, it finally, towards the end, starts tightening up a tiny bit. But all I'm doing is just changing the thread pitch a little and expanding it towards the end. I'm barely having to put any pressure on this to get this to do what I want. Normally, when you're tapping a bolt like this, it takes a lot of force and it takes a lot of back and forth. I am basically just able to go completely through on the first try. So now we are retapped to a Ford spec, and we're going to be able to use our existing brake lines and factory spec Ford banjo bolts. Is it better for everybody? Probably not. Is it better for us? Hopefully. As a fun note, these are directional, allegedly. There's a small cast arrow right there showing that this one should have the brake rotor rotating this way, which means this guy that I just did is going to be the passenger side because it mounts like this. Brake rotor goes this way.
Essentially, the arrow should point to the front of the truck.
The arrow should point the direction the tire rolls. The one thing I always remind people is to read the manual. What didn't I do this time? Read the manual. So part of the manual says that these rotors don't fit with the dust shields. This is fine for some situations, you know, mall crawlers, stuff like that. In our case, it's less than ideal because of Oregon. We have mud, we have grit, we have nasty. The concern is that stuff's going to come in from behind the wheel and through. On the front of the wheel, you have the wheel spokes, as you can see on the wheel directly behind us, that block stuff coming in more. On the back, you have nothing. So to get these to fit, because they only make so many of these calipers, they don't make them in different mounting depths here. So this rotor, if you can see the scratchy bit right there, didn't drive it very far, so it's not the end of the world. It'll buff out, is dragging on ye old dust shield. So, and it says right in the instructions, one of the first things, dust shield has to come off. I didn't read it because I assumed the kit fit with things like dust shields, because why would you not have dust shields on a brake? But race car. So now we get to go find an aftermarket dust shield solution right here and right here, where the dust shield's bent in for, I assume, aerodynamics. And that's where we're hitting. So unfortunately, got to find something flatter. Is this Willwood's fault? No. Willwood 100% says first page in their instructions and first thing on their videos, you have to take the dust shields off. I was an idiot and didn't read the instructions. I'm an ASE certified mechanic. I'm experienced. I've been working on cars for a very long time. You know, I'm master tech at a German car shop. I should know better, but also at the same time, I just assumed that, hey, a brake kit would fit. So this is on me, but buyer beware. I know I'm complaining about rear access. I'll turn on the little lamp so you can see what I'm talking about. Anything that comes in splashes up. I mean, there's a lot of meat in the way down here. It's not near as bad as it is on other cars, but there's a pretty big opening here. I've never had to run a car that wasn't a track car without rear dust shields. So this will be different.
Well, that does it for this vlog. And what did we learn? We learned to always follow the instructions when installing new parts. And also, you know, be clever along the way. Thanks for watching. Mr. Nicholas, what are we doing today?
Rust conversion. So with a bunch of rust on the roll cage, you can actually see even just cleaning it has peeled a bunch of the rust off, but there's still rust in here in pockets. We're going to go over the whole thing with one of my favorite rust converters, or 15. And that's it. That's how you do it. Not rocket surgery. Wear gloves.